People who live at tourist destinations, what is it you wish tourists would stop doing when visiting? Clean up your ducking trash. I used to live in a spring break destination which was a small surf town. After spring break, people would be cleaning up pounds upon pounds of beer cans, broken bottles, needles, used condoms, fucking revolting. Edit for you nitpickers, I meant stop throwing your garbage on the ground. There, now get off my cheeks. Stopping their cars in the middle of the road to take in a view. WTF? They do this for wildlife where I live as well. I've seen idiots chasing bears with cubs into the forest to take pictures with their phones. A friend of mine lost a relative because a Tyrone in a bear jam didn't look before pulling back into traffic on the road because he was so focused on the bear and didn't see the cyclists. Hit one of them and broke the cyclist's neck. Sort of related, but we get a lot of folk moving here who are used to city living. They visit once, then buy a $34 million home and decide they're nature people now. It's really been ratcheting up lately. The sheer number of complaints about wildlife are astounding. My favorite, and most emblematic example, was that someone wrote a Nextdoor post about how the park rangers wouldn't come out when she called about a bear. That was on the trail. In the woods. Of a national forest. She was indignant and asked if the sheriff department would do anything. Lady, that bear's family has been here many more generations than you or me. It's their trail. Yep, I talk to people worried about bears in their yard. I'm like, well, if you put your trash cans in your garage instead of the driveway, they'll unlikely to break in for that. And maybe stop feeding birdseed to the deer and turkeys because you're just begging for a bear to come for the birdseed or a lion to come in for the deer. The shocked looks on their faces, lol Ada, to be more clear, lion is short for mountain lion. Sorry for the confusion. What are the noises I hear at night? Coyotes. Why are there coyotes? Because your B-Day is now located where their den used to be, Cheryl. Then Cheryl posts and wonders why her outdoor cat hasn't come home in days. Or people complaining about the dawn chorus of songbirds. When I stayed in Vancouver, I heard sirens all night. I'll take the songbirds, thanks. I once heard a radio broadcasting a poll on whether to sponsor a coyote hunt call because some stupid lady had left her $200 worth of groceries in the car with the door open and -40 to go answer the phone and a coyote had somehow ruined all of it. Another classic, a couple that left their kitchen window open and a bear came in and got their garbage. Advised them to keep their window closed. They called the next day because the bear came in again. The window was closed but another one nearby was open. I swear all the morons are the ones breeding. And I can't figure out how we even have a society because the average person is unbelievably stupid. One time camping last year we were in an area with bears, so we, of course, secured our food that night. We got woken up in the middle of the night by lights shining on our tent because the ranger was checking in about the people next campsite over who had went to the emergency phone and called the station about a bear at their campsite. They had left their food out on their picnic table. It's like people never even watched Hanna-Barbera cartoons. These comments make me feel like a good tourist. Seriously. It all basically boils down to don't trash the place and be mindful of your surroundings. Really? People should be acting like this every day, whether vacationing or at home. Driving drunk. I live in Sonoma County, California. Make sure you've got a sober driver FFS. The roads around here are never more dangerous than winery tasting room closing time on a sunny weekend. Edit, so many fellow locals in this thread. Hello neighbors. Be safe out there, no matter where you are. Driving Sonoma roads drunk is basically assisted suicide. Assistance coming from the massive curves and double backs. Plus there's always someone on a bicycle around the curve. Stop feeding the damn seagulls. I worked at Disney World for a few years and the squirrels there are vicious. People think it's fun to feed them so they are completely fearless. They'll hop right into a stroller and grab food from a child. Edit, absolutely loved going on to Reddit a few hours later and seeing a bunch of aggressive squirrel stories. I've legit had a squirrel at a theme park come up to me and hold out its hand, paw, expecting food. At least it was polite about it. When a former roommate and I were in Washington sightseeing the National Mall, we passed this tree over by the Vietnam Memorial that was full of chittering squirrels. One that was almost as wide as it was tall came waddling over to us looking for a handout. It was both the least people shy and the fattest squirrel I've seen in my life, two qualities that I'm sure are related. Leave the wildlife alone. And this doesn't just extend to tourists but to people that live here too. 45 plus coyote attacks last year in no small part because of people giving them food leading to a cull, bears getting habituated to people because they're being given food leading to them getting killed, otters and sea lions getting fed. They're not cute cuddly things. They're wild animals and will kill you, and then, because they're doing what they do, they'll get killed because they're dangerous to humans. When in reality they're only dangerous to ignorant rubes with no respect for nature. I live in Florida. Alligators are not your friend. Snakes are not your friend. Leave the birds alone. And stop feeding them. Florida Statute 372.667 makes it a misdemeanor to feed alligators or crocodiles. Here in SC, the fine can be up to $1,000. Best to leave them alone. Deface World Heritage Sites for souvenirs or internet clout. For example, the Colosseum in Rome has graffiti carved into its walls by asshole tourists, and Stonehenge is closed off to the public because assholes were chipping pieces off for souvenirs. It is worth noting, at one point the caretakers at Stonehenge handed out rock hammers to tourists for the specific purpose of chipping off bits to take as souvenirs. That was before the modern idea of museum as conservation of history. I paid a lot to be here, change, blank, or I'll leave a horrible review. Driving like a dickhead, leaving garbage anywhere but a rubbish bin, stopping in the middle of the road to let out your family of 12 instead of pulling into the parking lot. I have a lot of stories. I live in Hawaii and work only with tourists. Best yet, my company was asked to contact the cruise ship company to have them move the ship because it disrupted the sunset. Please move that ship, it's making my sunset pictures bad. What kind of person genuinely thinks that's not insane? Stop being a belligerent asshole just because you're in Nolans. It's still not an excuse to get blackout drunk, litter, and make hell for food service workers. Going on the Black Rocks and being swept out to the Atlantic Ocean, risking the lives of first responders and locals, many of whom are already traumatized from Swiss Air. Peggy needs her tourist sacrifices. Who are we to deny her what she's owed? For real though, if you come to Nova Scotia and go on the Black Rocks at Peggy's Cove, you need to know we take pictures of you and talk shit about you on social media. I just checked to see what all of this is and I'm astonished. I know people are stupid as duck, but how difficult it can be to understand that the rocks are dark because they are wet. Wet rocks are slippery, smooth wet rocks doubly so. The rocks are smoothened out by the waves. The rocks are smooth and wet because of the waves. How is it not clicking that it's not a great idea to stand where the waves have and will hit? Went to Peggy's Cove last year. The amount of rage in that ocean is beyond comprehension. I do not understand how people would feel comfortable enough to go on the Black Rocks. For real, apparently they even wade into the water sometimes. That water is super ducking, not inviting. It's also so goddamn cold. Don't freaking carve your name on stuff. The amount of people who need to carve their names onto historical buildings and statues are just crazy. Don't be an ass. You are ruining the place. And respect people's properties. Yeah, it's a cute street with cute houses and charming gardens. But that does not give you the right to enter people's private properties to peep in their windows, walk in their gardens and try to open their doors. A colleague is selling his house because he's tired of people peeping in their windows and trying to open their door to have a look inside. He got yelled at for being inappropriate while he was sunbathing in his own garden by a tourist who let themselves in the gate and walked around the house to have a look at his garden. WTF, entering his property? Worst is that the lady who cussed him out for being inappropriate was American. You'd think someone from the States would know better than to walk into someone's garden. Or she knew we don't carry guns in Norway. Why is it called tourist season if you can't shoot them? In New York, if you visit, please walk on the right side of the sidewalk, not the left. Also, if you need to stop and look at your phone or have a conversation with your fellow travelers, step aside. People are walking, and if you abruptly stop, it usually results in someone bumping into you. Also, do not walk like 5 people side by side and walking slowly. People can't get around you. It is infuriating. But, please keep visiting NYC. Spain. We get a shitduckton of tourists. Very well behaved for the most part where I am. So, thanks for doing it right, tourists. The worst is littering on the beach, which is thankfully pretty rare. I occasionally see someone put a cigarette butt in the sand. A lot are taken away when they leave, but the sand has a way of hiding stuff, so a lot remain. I'll give you tourists one tip. Night swimming. If you put your keys, glasses, etc. down in the sand, they're gone. Between the sand and the dark, you'll never see them again. Spain here as well, up in a mountain town. For me it's the music noise. Especially on a hiking trail or in a beautiful secluded scenic area in the woods. I do not want to listen to private conversations on speakerphone and music from a loud boombox.